Welcome to the Wilmac Wire. I'm Emily Miller, joined by my co-host, Steve McDonald. On this show, we talk with the drivers, the leaders, innovators, and decision makers pushing customer interaction technology and AI forward. And because we're proud to call Western New York home, we also spotlight the drivers in our own community, the people and organizations shaping growth and innovation right here. Let's get into it.
All right, let's get things started. Really excited to announce our guest today with our typical, sports intro. I wish I had more control over like dimming the lights and like getting a banner for you to burst through, but we'll get things starting. All right. Coming in at 6'2", based out of Swampscott, Massachusetts. Maybe a Celtics fan. I'll have to confirm that. But with over 3 decades in the technology space, including enterprise IT, AI, UCaaS, CPaaS, cybersecurity, 5G, and digital health. Known for sharing his professional take on the future of work, on unified communications, on collaboration and CX, with a career journey that spans stints at Dialogic, Atos, Philips Electric, Audio Codes, Oracle, Sonos, and a couple others. And almost done. I'm almost there. This is a really impressive bio. And finally emerging as a top B2B social media influencer with over 600,000 followers across platforms, representing the likes of Forbes Business Council, T-Mobile, MWC, and now the host of a TV show on Fox Business and Bloomberg called Tech Impact and AI Impact. Welcome to the Wilmac Wire, Evan Kirstel.
Thanks for having me. That's quite an introduction.
Yeah, didn't realize how long it was. I didn't read it out once before, but excited to have you on the Wilmac Wire here today, Evan. I know you're usually on the other side of the mic interviewing people with your show, so excited to lay some questions on you today. Happy to have you here.
Let's do
Awesome.
it.
Okay. I'm just going to start out as a really quick icebreaker. I know that your job has taken you many, many places. Do you have any favorite locations, conferences that stand out to you?
Well, I'd say in the Western world, Barcelona is definitely one of my favorites, and like MWC is like a pilgrimage every year to Barcelona. I've been doing that for
Okay.
more years than I can remember, and I just love that place, love the city, the whole vibe.
Yeah.
Great destination. Even though during MWC itself, it's a little crazy. But I'd say, and on the other side of the world, I'd say Singapore. Like what an
Oh,
amazing country, city. If you haven't been, you got to check it out. Even just go to the airport. The airport's probably one of my favorite
yeah. Oh my
places in
gosh, that's funny.
Singapore. Like just like so futuristic. It's like you're living in all the future.
So if you don't mind me asking, how often do you travel a year to different conferences? Does it depend?
Yeah, I mean it's all the big ones like Mobile World
Mm-hmm.
Congress and Enterprise Connect and HIMSS, CES coming up shortly. And then beyond that, it's just a whole mix of different events,
Yeah.
customer events. So it's fun. I still enjoy it.
Very cool. And you've interviewed and talked to so many different people across technology, across the industry. I was listening to the past few weeks. You just had the the co-CEOs from Alorica on. You've talked to people at SAP, Cognigy, Nintendo, Intel. What's that like? And do you have an interview that has been the most memorable that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many great ones. I'm more of the industry insider guy, so a lot of the names wouldn't be familiar to the general public. But I think one of my favorites was Jeffrey Moore, the author, Crossing the Chasm, just a brilliant mind, brilliant industry guru, kind of a legend. So that comes to mind. But yeah, after 1,000 or so, you tend to forget the favorites, and
I can imagine.
yeah. But it's such a fun opportunity to get face to face and to learn and to educate myself. I really do it for myself as much as anyone onto trends and opportunities in the industry.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like chatting with people, building those relationships is kind of a core part of your why you keep doing things. But we're going to jump right into kind of your career journey and dig into that a little bit more. But could you start by telling us a little bit more about your background and how your career has evolved into you becoming one of the most influential voices in enterprise tech?
Yeah, it really started not in social media, not in marketing or anything to do with content. It traditional sort of route through sales engineering, partnerships, alliances, business development, and then as social media, particularly platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn, came to the fore, 15 plus years ago in a real way, I was just hooked, and I started using them for more than just personal casual use, but for business use and sharing insights and connecting and super
Yeah.
connecting to people out there. And that sort of grew into the last decade where I've been an independent, content creator, podcaster, influencer, but still very much attached to what's happening in industry.
Right, right. And like you mentioned, you've been in positions that have titles included with business development, sales, alliances, partnerships. Would you say that that turning point where you started to see more opportunity in that influencer role, like you said, come about when social media started to gain more traction and more platforms started to pop up?
Yeah, it was, when I started using platforms like LinkedIn or even Twitter, they really weren't used in any B2B capacity except for job hunting and job search and essentially being a resume.
Yeah,
So I was using it differently. A lot of people were, and now they're true media
yeah,
platforms. And so that was just sort of a natural evolution for me. I was always a connector in person, but when you go online, you can 10x, 100 times x that
right.
network, that sense of connectedness. And so it felt like it was a natural.
Right. And like I mentioned in the intro, I mean, you have over 600,000 followers across those various platforms. This is just going off script, a little bit more of a personal question, but do you have like a favorite platform that you feel like, yeah, like that's my community, that's my audience, like that's the one that I like investing more time in?
Well, I think LinkedIn is definitely where, most of us in the industry are spending most of the time, and I would agree. But I think YouTube is also just
Mm,
beyond all expectation has become where I spend most of my
yeah.
time personally, now professionally, consuming content, but also creating content for YouTube, both shorts and long form uh, video interviews. It's probably the fastest growing in terms
Yeah.
of eyeballs and reach, and of course SEO and search as part of
Hmm.
Google. So if you're not on YouTube, you're really missing a trick, both as a not just as a consumer of content, but as a creator of content.
Definitely, and let me also ask, so I know you in particular, you're definitely leaning more towards the video content side of things, hosting your interviews, hosting your show, your podcasts, um, all of that sort of stuff. Um, I spoke with Thomas Brannon from On Convergence on the
Mm.
podcast as a guest a while ago, and he had a very similar preference for video. Has that evolved for you? Like, a video is definitely a it takes a lot more effort to create that type of content. Like, why have you merged towards video?
Well, it's actually the same amount of effort capturing a video. You can then deploy that in so many ways. You could deploy
Mhm,
the audio as an audio podcast on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube podcasts. You can then, take the transcript of the video and turn it into blogs and
mhm,
interesting articles based on the discussion. You can take the video and reformat it for short form, highlight reels and shorts, for example. So it's just a really flexible format. So I mean, my philosophy is you want to be everywhere. You want people still read. You need the written word. They listen to audio podcasts in their ear all day. So you want to be on audio format, and you want to be on video on multi channels. And so it's not so much a preference as one over the other as how can you get the most reach for that one
right.
piece of content.
And like you talked about, it's more of the strategy, the repurposing aspect of it. Makes a ton of sense. Um, I'm in marketing. I have to ask these types of questions just because it piques my interest. I'm really curious. Okay, and going into more of the B2B social media influencer title that you own, how does your work function today? Like, what does a typical day in the life look like for you?
Yeah, so I do a daily show. So, it's pretty much pretty frenetic, in terms
Yeah, I
of,
can imagine.
doing the daily show, posting the daily show, promoting it, and then moving on to the next thing. But it's a good time, and I really enjoy it. And then beyond that, it's working on client projects, working, following my clients' initiatives and activities on social and digital, and looking for ways to add value. And then just tapping into whatever's trending in B2B tech at any given day, the top of, the fold, as they used to call it, news and announcements, and adding color commentary to what's happening. Um, and then, special projects around what my clients are up to. We're always collaborating on new blogs, new styles of content. Going deep into AI video creation now, so playing
Yeah,
with the tools and the platforms, and
yeah.
seeing what can be done, and testing new models. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, I love that. And I was checking out your Instagram yesterday and I can tell you've been digging into the AI video creation stuff. That's a lot of fun. I think that's where I saw the post about you wearing like the Celtics gear and being on the court, which is fun. I have to ask, are you a Celtics fan?
Oh yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
son is fanatic, and I'm a fan, and so we at least go a couple times to the Garden here in Boston per year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you can't not be a Celtics fan in Boston unless you're,
Fair.
sort of lost your mind.
Yep.
But yeah, the AI stuff is fascinating. It's lots of trial, and getting hands-on and experimenting, and beyond making funny cat videos with Sora. I think for the B2B world, we now have a full production studio in our pocket. And for all intents and purposes now, at least for free or nearly free, you can make high quality B2B content for, what would take production crews and CGI and all kinds of studio effects for nothing. So I'm having a good time with some of the tools and real practical, social marketing kind of campaigns. It's really amazing.
Right. Yeah, the content creation world has really just flipped on its head with the whole use of AI. There's so many tools out there now. And that's just where I'm immersed in day to day and trying to make the most out of a small team, similar to what you're doing. Like you're becoming more efficient with your show output, the content you're creating because of your use of AI. And I
Mm.
know, like, in line with that, the takes and the conversations that you're having surrounding AI in the contact center industry, in the CX industry, also have just morphed incredibly since over the past year and a half. Um, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit on kind of the brief that I put together, but there's a lot of momentum around the AI adoption, especially in that collaboration, contact center, CX space. From
Mm.
what you're seeing, what's actually working and what isn't?
Well, the space is there's a lot of change, a lot of flux, a lot of M&A, acquisitions, consolidation, and vendors are having to really change their models. I think until, let's say the pandemic, we had a pretty staid and frankly kind of boring industry in many regards, in terms of, what a contact center looked like. And then, we moved that contact center to the cloud. But now it's really, customers are looking for more. They're looking for execution on AI. They're, investors are looking at who's operationalizing AI, who's proving ROI. How can you help customers move faster and deliver outcomes? So because of that, there's just been a lot of pressure on, just selling seats or selling licenses, and the very traditional legacy models. So there's a brand new scorecard, I think, for the contact industry, and that, because it's such a huge opportunity, not just contact center, but CX and automation and totality, there's so many new players. There's thousands of new bot companies tackling this from different perspectives and new models, and big, big tech is now interested in this space. So, it's just a mega platform consolidation and rationalization story. And a lot of the traditional players are, suffering to some degree.
Right. And you touched on so many different points that connect to different questions I have on my list. So I'm trying to determine where to go next with that. But yeah, you hit on a lot of different things. And I'm going to start with kind of, you mentioned the changes that are happening in the industry, the mergers and acquisitions, all of that sort of stuff. Like within 2025, we saw some really big moves in terms of the new NICE CEO coming in, the NICE Cognigy acquisition, and then making a lot more bigger moves with partnerships. And you got the Verint Calabrio merger and rumors of more consolidation coming. So, what is some of your takes on these shifts? Like, what has been some of the content that you've created, the opinions that you've shared with your community, especially now that we're a few months outside of these large events?
Yeah, I think the market, the sentiment out there is not just about CCAS anymore. It's all about AI execution in real life with, no science projects, no trials, but at scale with real customers. And, they want to see customers and investors. They want to see who's proving the model, who's really getting AI in the CX environment, and who's enabling those customers to tell truly transformational stories. I mean, CCAS was really important for OpEx and CapEx and network expenses and others, but it's not just about, the sort of traditional definition according to, whatever Gartner Magic Quadrant exists.
Hmm.
It's a completely new world of AI players, and they're now very well capitalized. A lot of them, a lot of new entrants. I won't mention names, but there's just a bunch of new players who are coming in with totally new pricing models and ideas about, customer experience. It's They're taking radically new and different approaches,
Right.
and I think that's what's turned the industry on its head to some degree.
Right. And just I have other questions on that for sure that spanned out of your answer. But just to give you some context, so Wilmac operated as a value-added reseller for a long
Mm.
time. We still partially do. That's kind of funded our startup side of our business. We have NICE in the building meeting with us today, NICE, Verint, and Calabrio, 5 9, all partnerships. So we're definitely seeing those changes happen in the industry, and it's really interesting to see how those partnerships have evolved because of these industry changes. Um, but like you said, just the AI adoption piece, CCAS isn't just CCAS anymore. There's just so many bells and whistles that contact centers now have the option of integrating and using to impact their customer experience. So let me ask, I know you interviewed the Cognigy co-founder and CEO at one point on your Tech Impact / AI Impact show. Like with the nice Cognigy acquisition, we're months out from like that has happened months ago. Like what have you seen change? Like how was that Cognigy, like that interview with the co-founder? Can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Vertical AI is becoming such an important topic. The market is splintering, and all of the players like Cognigy and others are going to thrive on, I say, niche innovation, vertical innovation, whether it's transportation, logistics, getting to know how that space works inside and out, and offering unique, selling points, whether it's healthcare and doing really cool workflows and integrations with, the healthcare IT network, um, and on and on and on. And so we're seeing, both voice bots and the traditional players like NICE go really deep vertically, which is great for customers. I mean, they used to be one contact center kind of fits all, and you were
Right.
basically doing the same kinds of things no matter what industry you're in, involving a phone call to an 800 number. But now, AI can do so much more that is solving all kinds of new problems, but it's requiring a lot of new domain specific knowledge, and it's kind of splintering the market to some degree.
Yeah.
But I think that's where innovation is going to come out of, is these AI pilots. It's going to be very industry specific. Someone else I know they have a CX solution for auto dealers, because
Hmm.
auto
Okay.
dealers, they have unique call flows and workforces, and they're trying to build really interesting, deep relationships with car buyers, and they have, a lot of specific requirements that and no other industry has. So that's just an
Right.
example how, every industry is looking at different ways to leverage operationalize AI, including voice and CCAS, but other features for their industry. So it's much more about like workflows
Yeah.
and and automating, operational layers and other things beyond just the traditional contact center speeds, feeds, features, bells, whistles.
Yeah, it's no longer like I can pull it out of the box and use it sort of thing. There's so many intricacies, like you said, to the different verticals that we're working in. Just to speak to Wilmac's side, for example, so we've been a reseller in the public safety space, 911 centers, vastly
Mm,
different than a typical contact center. And we just launched a new product, which really not a new concept, but workforce management in the public safety space, they schedule so differently to contact centers. We've
mm.
started integrating AI into that. So just out of curiosity, do you have any experience kind of on that public safety communications side of things?
Yeah, well, the whole public safety PSAP market is kind of a disaster zone, right? I mean, pun intended. You've seen outages, you've seen
Yeah.
all kinds of issues. They're really slow to innovate,
Mhm.
with new features. I mean, we should, every PSAP should be able to accept, calls and texts and images and videos and do AI triage, again, pun intended, and offer, integrate with GPS and drones. I mean, we should be living in a different world when it comes to public safety.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot there's some new entrants there that were really interesting. I won't like name names, but I think that's a whole area that's such a big part of the tech landscape, but has been so overlooked, like for so many years, both from the regulators, but also by the tech providers. Big shakeup is needed, literally life-saving, requirements
Right.
there. And it's just, stunning to see, like, we're in this day and age, we have outages, 911 outages still happening at scale. So it's,
Yeah. Like you said, life and death. And I remember when I entered this industry, and seeing kind of the technology, the innovation, like where they were at on that bell curve, it was
mm,
astonishing to me to, like you mentioned, where they're at for it. But we're definitely starting to see more openness to that
mm,
innovation, which is good. Like you said, it'll probably take some time to get there, but like you mentioned, some of those new entrants, I know you don't want to name names, but like what's prepared the AI
mm,
solution for that a lot of 911 centers are starting to use now from the call perspective to divert those non-emergency calls that they're getting. It,
mm.
it really is. It's exciting time. It's an exciting time. That was hard to get out. To be a part of this and see how it's evolving. So yeah, quick tangent, but I was just curious on your public safety view of things. So something else that you mentioned too when you were talking about kind of your job function and your show, talked about mega platforms and how some of those other big tech providers, your Salesforces, your Microsofts, are starting to get more interested in the CX, the contact center space. Do you think we're moving more towards that type of setup where there are just a few mega platforms, or do you expect more fragmentation in the market?
Yeah, I think both. I think you'll be able to source your, CCAS from a hyperscaler, a big cloud or big tech provider at some point. But I think we're going to see more fragmentation. There are just too many
Mm,
unique needs and
yeah.
verticals and niches that innovation will thrive in those places. And the bigger the player, the tougher they are to customize and operationalize and do custom workflows and requirements. So there'll always be a need for faster moving, providers, vendors. So I think it's such a big space now. There's plenty of room for most of those players.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were talking about before with the verticality of it, if that's a word.
Mm,
Um, like you said, the needs are just so vastly different. It can be hard to have those few mega platforms that fit everyone, that are customizable to everyone. So
right.
that you make a really good point there. Um, okay, that being said, so you've been in this space for over 30 years. Obviously, you've been really busy with your daily show, especially in 2025. So, do you think in our industry, is there anything that you have a gut feeling about, an instinct about that's going to surprise us in 2026 or to see where our industry is going to go?
No, I think we're going to be able to achieve fully autonomous workflows. I mean, people are calling them agents, but I think there is enough work being done that you're going to see truly autonomous agents start to add value. So this idea of, let's say in CX, a request, resolution, validation, closed customer that totally handled by a bot, by AI, will be a reality in many more and more cases. And again, AI, I don't think AI is going to replace CX agents,
Hmm.
completely, but it will replace a lot of bad systems, a lot of legacy systems. But I think, the year of actually getting agents right, by the end of 2026, we'll start to see more like amazing use cases.
Yeah, completely agree. The agentic AI stuff is wildly interesting to see how people are capitalizing on that and creating entire companies just around agentic AI. And even to Wilmac internally, we are a 35-person organization, and we're trying to figure out ways so we can optimize and automate, like you said, those workflows. So they're operating in the background while we can focus on more of those high value activities. It's similar across the board. It's top of mind for so many people.
Mm,
So
totally.
yeah, yeah. And let me ask, like, have you in your role, like, have you tinkered with using agentic AI, and if so, how?
Yeah, well, I'm a pretty big fan of ChatGPT, so I've used the agent feature to, if you create, not just a prompt, you can use the little box. You can actually use an agent to perform certain tasks, research or
Right.
otherwise, and it's been amazing. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes an agent will go out and spend 40 minutes researching a particular topic and just come back with pure gold.
Yeah,
Something that
definitely.
would require some hours of scrolling around and online. So yeah, just the simple agent function on ChatGPT has been a game changer for me.
That's awesome. Okay, last couple questions for you before we start to wrap up. But you work with and have worked with some of the biggest brands in tech. You've worked with Microsoft, Cisco, T-Mobile, Broadcom. How have you seen the the users of the technology, the enterprise buyers change in the way that they consume information? Because obviously your primary responsibility is sharing information, So how have you seen that change at all or evolve?
Yeah, I think enterprise buyers are definitely consuming information differently. So executives, they don't want marketing anymore, to be honest. They don't want PDFs or white papers. They just want content as well as people they can trust or know, and they want to consume it, whether it's a demo maybe on YouTube, whether it's like cool insights or analysis on LinkedIn, or maybe real candid commentary from real users. There are many community, review sites. That's the kind of stuff that they're using to, frankly, educate, inform themselves before they ever talk to a salesperson or a rep or, do an RFP. So that's just been a huge shift for the whole industry.
Yeah, let me ask, just curious too, like, um, in the marketing realm, we talk a lot about gated content. Do you think it's even worth gating content anymore?
Well, it's worth it to get people on your email list, to incentivize them to share their email in some way. it's really the last thing you have is your email list. So if it's to that end, then sure. But the center of gravity has moved from some holy grail of content or some blueprint that we used to all follow to digital communities. And so
Hmm.
influence now is about participating in those communities, and the messaging increasingly is like peer to peer,
Yeah,
whether it's like at a Gartner symposium or a AWS reInvent, or pick your Microsoft community. Increasingly, it's more person to person and on social media, human to human, versus uh, top down, or from company's legacy. They used to say, no one gets fired for buying IBM. Well, I don't think you can say that about any company now.
right. Yeah, yeah,
So people are turning to the left and their right, turning to their peers and colleagues to get their information and unique insights, whether it's in person at a Gartner event or online on Reddit,
I was
or
just
G2,
gonna bring up Reddit.
or
Yep,
G2 crowd. Pick your
yep.
community, but there's ways to do real research and get real answers online now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you started talking about community, and like you said, the in-person events, I believe after that kind of few years after COVID, when it was people were still struggling to get back, I feel like that's completely changed. Everything is back in person now. People are craving that face-to-face interaction, the peer communities that they're building. We've expanded kind of our social media platform strategy into Reddit this year, which has been super enlightening to see how people kind of communicate to that end.
Mm.
And I have to say, I was shocked by the number of threads that were specific to just contact center like agents complaining and all the
Mm.
crazy stories that they have, which was wildly interesting. But yeah, I couldn't agree more that uh, there's a lot of information out there. It's hard to stick out. It's important to build those relationships and, like you said, leverage the AI aspect, the generative engine optimization, how that's impacting you, and leveraging your content on that. So the game is just completely different across the board, which you've touched on multiple times. So that
Totally.
being said, Evan, appreciate you being on the podcast with me today, joining me on the Womack Wire. I always like to ask before two questions before we wrap things up. Are there any projects or initiatives that you're working on that you'd like to share about with our listeners? And also, let us know when your AI impact and your tech impact shows are, that sort of thing. I just always like opening that up for you to share.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're booking guests on techimpact.tv for the spring. So if you have, executive or a thought leader who you think might be interested in joining, reach out via techimpact.tv. I'll also be at CES, at Mobile World Congress, at RSA Conference, the big cybersecurity show, at HIMSS, all in the spring. So if you're thinking about going to any of those, let's connect. And also, come on the show. If you're listening, you think you have a point of view or perspective you want to share, shoot me an email, and let's connect.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan. So, like Evan mentioned, you can follow along with his shows Tech Impact and AI Impact at techimpact.tv. And you can also find uh, profiles for Tech Impact on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X to catch up on all of the previous episodes and all that awesome repurposed content that Evan's putting out. Lastly, Evan, where do you want people to connect with you, or where can they follow your work?
Yeah, I say LinkedIn is always a good place to connect. Shoot me an invite, and let's collaborate.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And for our listeners to find Evan on LinkedIn, on X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, just search Evan Kirstel, Kirstel, Evan Kirstel. Evan, thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Appreciate your time. Anything else before we wrap?
No, appreciate the opportunity and keep up the
Awesome.
great work. Every brand should have a podcast, and
Yup.
you're one of, frankly, not too many who are doing it. So putting
Thank you.
money where your mouth is and really getting your voice out there, it's just a great opportunity and so overlooked by
Yeah.
brands both big and small.
Definitely. Like you said, got to repurpose. I love chatting with people. This is a great way to do my job and chat with awesome people like you. So, all right, that being said, thank you, Evan, for like I said, joining me again on the Wilmac Wire. This will be one of our introductory episodes to season 3 in 2026. So excited to air it. All right. Thanks for your time, Evan. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Wilmac Wire. If you like today's conversation, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or watch full episodes on our YouTube channel. You can also learn more about Wilmac Technologies and our work in customer interaction technology at wilmactech.com. We'll be back soon with more conversations with the drivers, those shaping our industry and those building right here in Western New York. See you next time.